I know that, but it often makes my head swim if I jump upon too much, and then on the top of that have to think about all those other mysteries. Yours, Anne. Saturday, 28th of November, 1942. Dear Kitty, we have used too much electricity, more than our ration. Result, the almost economy and the prospect of having it cut off. No night for a fortnight. A pleasant thought that, but no one knows. Perhaps it won't happen after all. It's too dark to read in the afternoon after 4 or half past. We pass the time in all sorts of crazy ways, asking riddles, physical training in the dark, talking English and French, criticizing books. But it all begins to pall in the end. Yesterday evening I discovered something new. To peer through a powerful pair of fielded glasses into the lighted room of the houses at the back. In the daytime, we can't allow even such as centimeters cheek to appear between our curtains. But it can't do any harm after dark. I never knew before that neighbors could be such interesting people. At any rate, ours are. I found one couple having a meal. One family was in the act of taking a home movie, and the dentist opposite was just attending to an old lady who was awfully scared. It was always said about Mr. Dussel that he could not get on wonderfully with children and that he loved them all. Now he shows himself in his true colors, a stodgy, old-fashioned disciplinarian and preacher of long, drawn-out sermons on manners. As I have the usual good fortune to share my bedroom, a small one with his lordship, and as I am generally considered to be the most badly behaved of the 3 young people, I have a lot to put up with and have to pretend to be deaf in order to escape the old, much repeated taking off and warnings. All this wouldn't be too bad if he wasn't such a frightful snag and he didn't pick on Mommy of all people to sneak every time. When I've already just had to dose from him, Mommy goes over it again. So I get a Gale F after it all. Then I'm really lucky. If I'm really lucky, I'm called on to give an account of myself to Mr. Van Dam and then get a veritable hurricane. Honestly, you needn't think it's easy to be the badly brought up central figure of a hypercritical family in hiding. When I lie in bed at night and think over many sins and shortcomings attributed to me, I get so confused by it all that I either laugh or cry. It depends what sort of mood I am in. Then I fall asleep with a stupid feeling of wishing to be different from what I am or from what I want to be. Perhaps to behave differently from the way I want to behave or do behave. Oh, heavens above! Now I'm getting you in a muddle too. Forgive me, but I don't like crossing things out, and in this day of paper shortage we are not allowed to throw paper away. Therefore, I can only advise you not to read the last sentence again, and certainly not to try to understand it, because you won't succeed anyhow. Yours, Anne. Monday, 7th of December, 1942. Dear Kitty, Chanka and Mrs. Nicholas Day came almost together this year. Just 1 day's difference. We didn't make much fuss about Hanukkah. We just gave each other little presents. Then we had the candles. Because of the shortage of the candles, we only had them alight for 10 minutes. But it is alright as long as you have the song. Mrs. Van Dam had made a wooden candlestick, so that too was all properly arranged. Saturday, the evening of St. Nicholas Day, was much more fun. Mia and Ellie had made us very inquisitive by whispering all the time with Daddy, so naturally we guessed that something was on. And so it was. At 8 o'clock, we all filed down the wooden staircase through the passage in pitch darkness. It made me shudder and wish that I was safely upstairs again, into a little dark room. As there were no windows, we were able to turn on a light. When that was done, Daddy opened the big cupboard. "Oh, how lovely!" we all cried. A large case decorated with St. Nicholas paper stood in the corner, and on the top there was a mass of black Peter. We quickly took the basket upstairs with us. There was a nice little present for everyone, with a suitable poem at church. I got a doll whose skirt is a bag and odds and ends. Daddy got books and so on. In any case, it was a nice idea that, as none of us have ever celebrated St. Nicholas, it was a good way of starting. Yours, Anne. Thursday, 10th of December, 1942. Dear Kitty, Mr. Van Dam used to be in the meat, sausage, and spice business. It was because of his knowledge of this trade that he was taken on in Daddy's business. Now he's showing the side of himself, which for us is by no means disagreeable. We had ordered a lot of meat under the counter, of course, by preserving in case we should come upon hard times. It was fun to watch, first the way the pieces of meat went through the mincer 2 or 3 times, then how all the accompanying ingredients were mixed with the minced meat, and then how the intestine was filled by means of spout to make the sausage. We fried the sausage meat and ate it with supper for that evening. With the sausage had to be fully dried first, and we hung them over a stick and tied in the ceiling with string. Everyone who came into the room began to laugh when they caught a glimpse of the roll of sausage on show. They looked terribly funny. The room was in a glorious mess. Mr. Van Dam was wearing one of his white aprons round his substantial person. He looked fatter than he is, and was busy with the meat. Hands smothered in blood, red face, and spoiled apron made him look like a butcher. Mr. Van Dam was trying to do everything at once, learning Dutch from a book, stewing the soup, watching the meat being done, sighing and complaining about her injured rib. That's what happened to the elderly ladies who do such idiotic exercise to reduce their laugh behinds. Dilso had inflammation in one eye and was bathing it with chamomile tea by the fire. Pim, who was sitting on a chair in a beam of sunlight that shone through the window, kept being pushed from one side to another. In addition, I think he was bothering him, because he sat rather hunched up with a miserable look on his face, watching Mr. Van Daan at work. He looked exactly like some shivered-up old man from an old people's house. Peter was doing acrobatics round the room with his cat. Mommy, Margot, and I were peeling potatoes. And of course, all of us were doing everything wrong because we were so busy watching Mr. Van Daan. Dilso has opened his dental practice. From the front of it, I must just tell you about his first patient. Mommy was ironing, and Mr. Van Daan was the first face the audio. She went and sat on a chair in the middle of the room. Dilso began to unpack his case in an awfully important way. Asked for some disinfectant and Vaseline to take the place of rest. He looked in Mr. Van Daan's mouth and found 2 teeth which, when touched, just made her crumple up as if she was going to pass out, uttering cries of pain. After a lengthy examination, in Mr. Van Daan's case, lasting in actual fact not more than 2 minutes, Dilso began to scrape away at one of the holes, but no fear, it was out of the question. The patient flung her arms and legs were wildly in all directions until at one point Dilso let go of the scraper that remained stuck in Mr. Van Daan's tooth. Then the fat was really in fire. She cried, so far as it was possible with such an instrument in one's mouth. Tried to pull the thing of her mouth and only succeeded in pushing it further in. Mr. Dilso stood with his hand against his side, calmly watching the little comedy. The rest of the audience lost all control and roared with laughter. It was written of us, because for one, am quite sure that I should have screamed even louder. After much turning, kicking, screaming, and calling out, she got the instrument free, and at last Mr. Dilso went on with his work, as if nothing had happened. This he did so quickly that Mr. Van Daan didn't have time to start any fresh tricks. But he'd never had so much help in all his life before. 2 assistants were pretty useful. Van Daan and I performed our duties well. The whole scene looked like a picture from the Middle Ages entitled A Clock at Work. In the meantime, however, the patient hadn't much patience. She had to keep an eye on her soup and her meal. One thing is certain, Mr. Van Daan won't be in such hurry to follow herself to cheat again. Yours, Anne.